Pretty impressive. Okay, thank you very much. We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I might have overdid it with the gathering. Once you have it in your hand, you might as well use it. Before we get started, I want to ask for approval of this. I'd like to state that Ken Hall, our Assistant Secretary and Treasurer, will be acting as our Board Secretary this evening in Dawn Sneeden's absence. So I just want to make a note of that. And then we're going to go to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll move that.
Nick, do we have a second?
Second.
Barb, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we're going to go to the teaching and learning feature, and we have Mrs. Thomas. Could you introduce our teaching and learning feature for this evening?
Absolutely. So I get the great privilege of introducing two staff members that just have incredible knowledge and expertise, and I'll ask them to come up to share more about this topic. I don't want to spoil anything, but they're going to talk to you a little bit about AAC and the role that it has in our district. So Melissa Cluck is a speech and language pathologist.
Oh, there, sorry.
Examples already. Yes. Melissa Cluck is one of our speech and language pathologists. We are really lucky to have her in Hudsonville. Many districts find themselves very reliant on ISD teacher consultants to help in this area. And Melissa has so much expertise that we have dedicated a portion of her time to support teams across the district with this tool. And specifically in students that are trialing new devices and need support. And then Jenna Vanderploeg is a teacher at Park. She supports our cognitive impairment program for upper L grades. And she has a wealth of knowledge and enthusiasm and is excited to share about what this looks like in the classroom. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Okay, so hi. AAC is an acronym. In special ed, we love acronyms. And so I'm going to explain what that is. AAC is augmentative or alternative communication. So some students have a voice, they have words that they can communicate with, and then we have other students that may not have that, or they have a system that's unreliable where they need some other form or system to help them with their words. So everyone communicates differently, and we want to embrace that and make that accessible to all learners, not just our special ed students, but really making that a norm in all of our buildings that we can provide access to all forms of communication. So AAC stands for augmentative. That can be any communication that adds to a student's speech or supplements to a student's speech. Alternative is anything that is used to communicate besides speech. And then communication is the ability to exchange thoughts, ideas, and feelings. And this includes all forms of communication other than oral speech that is used to express thoughts, needs, wants, and ideas. And often people will, when I consult with teams, we are so really focused on the idea of like, when I talk about AAC, we're talking, a lot of the teams I work with are always thinking about like our high-tech devices, and their minds are always kind of on that when they're talking about, hey, if I'm working with AAC, am I working on a system like this where they have to have a high-tech device with them at all points in time? It is a tool that they can have in their AAC bag, but not necessarily the only thing that's considered AAC. There's a lot of other things that come in that AAC umbrella. And we, as adults, use AAC on a daily basis. That's like typing, emails, right? That's another form of communication that isn't verbal, texting. My teenage son uses more AAC than I do on a daily basis. And writing, verbal or nonverbal communication can be AAC. So just simply using visuals or facial gestures and that type of thing. So anything that is not verbal but can communicate some kind of want or need is considered an augmentative or alternative form of communication. So there are 3 types up here, and then there's kind of a 4th subcategory between low tech and high tech. But when I'm working with teams on how to best support students, we consider all of these areas in putting these in their toolbox. So no tech AAC is using gestures, is using that nonverbal communication. So gestures, facial expressions, and then we can add or supplement other tools like teaching kids sign language. So a lot of the times in our categorical programs, we are using, especially I work in the lower L ASD classrooms, we often supplement our own speech with a sign to help them process that verbal speech with a sign, and then so that they can, if they can't say it, then they can at least sign it back to us. So when we're giving commands, we'll say, wait, or it's time to eat when we're talking about routines, so that they can then use the sign if they don't have the verbal capacity to do that. Writing or drawing is also a form of communication that is a no-tech option. Low tech is pointing to pictures on a communication board. So that's something that is highly embedded in any of our categorical programs. And it really is embedded in a lot of our lower L classrooms already. A lot of our lower L classrooms use visuals, it's visuals, and implementing visuals to help with comprehension and language. So it can be a visual schedule, right? You're just showing the students what's coming next. Or it can be a choice board, so that the student can, and if they don't have the words, they can give you something that they want. Like, oh, markers. They can make a choice. Or a core board. So they might have a robust vocabulary at their fingertips. And if they know what the vocabulary means and you've done the training with the student and the staff for modeling and they get it, then they can point to what they want, like I, play, go. Oh, you wanna go outside to play? So you can attribute meaning to that. And then there are mid-tech options, which I keep hitting the go button. So I have fun, I'm working with a student right now where she has no verbal communication, and she's actually an Albert friend, Heidi. And we've been working on having her communicate more to request, and then she wants to leave and do walks in the building, so she hits button go to tell us when she wants to leave, because her original form of communication was scratching the paper off the door. So go is a better option, verbal output, and it replaced the behavior immediately. So now that she has a form to communicate, we're being effective with that. And then the high-tech options are often in our district, we use apps on an iPad. So a lot of our students are assigned, or the classroom purchases an iPad for student use. And we have a few different applications that we look into. There are like 4 or 5, but really there are probably 2 or 3 really favorite apps that we use, where they can have a robust vocabulary system at their fingertips, but then they can, it gives it voice output so that they can use one word at a time or build sentences. So like, they can communicate this way. My feature's not on here, but most kids can then touch the top and it'll say, I want to play bubble, so that they can communicate their wants and needs. Or some kids the other day, I had a student who's really excited about, he's becoming way more verbal. He was nonverbal a couple of years ago, and he started using AAC, and he still has his device because He does have some form of verbal communication now, but he has what we call apraxia, and it's a motor speech disorder, so his speech is really inconsistent at times. And even though he can say some sounds, it doesn't always come out clear. And so it's unreliable to an unfamiliar listener, and even though I'm trained and I work with him, sometimes I don't understand him. So this is always a nice form to go back on, and he loves to draw maps. So we were drawing a map the other day, and he was trying to tell me what sign he wanted me to write, like the sign name on it. And I was like, I don't understand what you're saying, so he went into the spell feature and he told me 84. And I think that's maybe, I don't know, Chicago Drive, M84, I don't know. He had like the name on there. So those are just some examples of like the technology we use with students who need that. So AAC is intended for those who cannot rely on the speech alone, and that are people with developmental language disorders. A lot of those students in our district are people with autism or intellectual disabilities. We primarily have the most AAC users in our categorical programs, in our ASD programs, in our CI programs, and at the early childhood level. But we do have other kiddos out there that have used AAC for other disorders like that motor speech disorder. So maybe a resource kid or a kid in gen ed who just has a really significant speech delay that keeps her from communicating with her teachers, her peers, and the AAC is helping bridge that gap a little bit. Other individuals with neurological or degenerative conditions really benefit from this as well. So people with ALS, as they start to lose their speech, and we've had students with degenerative diseases actually in our district that have started to lose skills over time that we've introduced AAC to as they've started to lose their speech. So those are some types of students that we've used AAC with in the past and continue to identify the need for. So students obtain a device, sometimes through outside services. Sometimes we get kids that come to us through ABA or outside speech and language services that already come with a device, and we're utilizing it here at school. Otherwise, in district, students are often first introduced to AAC in the early childhood building. Our speech and language pathologists, Shauna Carroll and Joan Van Fossen at the early childhood building, do a really great job about trying to incorporate a lot of the core boards around the building already. So there are a lot of these poster boards in the building. If you go in and you'll see them out, kids are modeling on it. They actually have a giant core board on the playgrounds, 2 of them, for kids to model on, or for adults and to model on and peers to use to communicate to one another. So it's already embedded naturally in those environments, but as they come up through elementary, if we feel like they require a device because of any of those conditions I listed prior, it's often an IEP team decision. So the individualized education plan team will come together, will say, hey, are there any tools that could make this child's communication more successful? And then we go through what's called the SET process, which is looking at student, education, task, and then the technology that we're gonna use that's gonna make it effective. It's a whole process. It takes a little time, so it's like a journey. It's not necessarily like an overnight jump skip. We're gonna be speaking right away, but a lot of the times when we transition to that elementary, then the kids start to get their one-to-one devices, and they have their own personal communication device that they have with them. The majority of our device users right now are at the elementary, middle school level, and most of them are the categoricals. However, we do have a lot of kids out in gen ed who are becoming AAC users as we have more kids in inclusion. So we have a lot of kids with higher needs, but can access gen ed and can access content, but they might have some disabilities, like a language disability or a speech disability that keeps them from communicating or accessing. So we are seeing that need a little bit more, and that requires me to kind of jump on and go to different schools and help support those teams in training and helping support the SLP who already has a really high caseload, and that takes time. So We do have a small number of those kiddos at the high school level too, that continue to use that as they get older. But a lot of the times, that kind of changes as they get older too, and a lot of that becomes accessible on a computer, and it becomes a little bit more age appropriate looking, depending on their age. So here are current numbers of what we have in the district so far. We have about 40 students out there who are using a one-to-one device, their own individual high-tech AAC device with their individual apps. And then we have 70 other iPads out there with AAC apps on them for staff and classroom use. That could be for student shared use in the classroom, or that could be for modeling purposes. So again, for those kids out there in the resource rooms, a lot of the time, you can't just hand them an iPad with a communication app and say, talk to me on this. You have to teach them how to use that and teach them where to find the vocabulary, and you need the adults to do that. So you need to first get the adults the app and the iPad in so that they can model the vocabulary for the student. So oftentimes, you're assigning the adult teams a device as well so that they can work with the student too. And then we have countless additional low-tech, mid-tech AAC supports out there used district-wide. So we've got AAC in action, and I'll hand it over to Jenna.
All right, now you guys get to see a really cool video on a friend of mine. So, his name is Cardo, and I've known him since kindergarten. And when he first came to us, he loved dinosaurs, and he would just grunt. So he'd come to us and grunt, and grunt. And then we started using, a low tech. So we would start with kind of low tech picture symbols for him, slowly incorporating that, what he wants, what he needs. And then he was using one of our high-tech devices for the lamp. So one of the apps that we use is Lamp, like Leslie was showing you. So he uses his talker, which we call, and he brings it back and forth to school and home every day. So this video was really exciting to see because he's a lot more independent with it, and it's really cool because as a kindergartner, he was just grunting and he'd get really frustrated, and now he has a voice. So this video, you might hear some background noises too with alarm going off and everything, but that's just the joys of a classroom. So I'm gonna show you this one. Do you want the sound? I know sometimes the sound gets wonky. Okay, well, yeah.
Playing on a computer?
I would assume so.
I was gonna say, put the microphone by the computer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but this, So this video, we were doing sensory bins, and a lot of times the kids. What else did you make? The kids love to pretend to make stuff, so they pretend to make like food and hand it to me, and then I pretend, oh yummy, what did you make me? So Cardo, that's why he's making me food with his sensory bin.
Cardo, what do you have? Can you show me, Cardo? What did you make? What is this? Can you tell me, what did you make? Chicken. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, what else did you make? What else did you make? Yogurt. Oh, so good. Anything else that you made? What else is in this? Oh, this is a good concoction. What else? Oh, strawberries, so good, Cardo. That's so yummy. Yum. Anything else, Cardo? Oh, yum. Shrimp. Oh, that's yummy. No, you don't like shrimp? Oh, you made it for me? Thank you, Cardo. Who did you make it for? Oh, Mrs. K. Oh, she's gonna love that. She's gonna love that so much. What else did you do? Oh, you made some for Caleb? Anyone else? Tell me. Who? Oh, your friend Stella? Anyone else? And Everett? And anyone else? And Mr. Beamers? Oh, he's gonna love all those snacks. You tell me. Miss Ashton. Very nice. And Miss Kim? Oh, very nice. And Mrs. R. Wow, there's so many friends and teachers. That's awesome, Cardo. Do you want to tell me anything else? Oh, and salsa. Do you like to eat salsa, Cardo? Hey, Cardo, you were telling me of someone's birthday. It's okay. You were telling me of someone's birthday. Whose birthday is coming up, Cardo? Whose birthday is coming up? Can you tell me when you're talking? Whose birthday is coming up, Cardo? Yeah, whose birthday? Do you remember? No, not Cardo's birthday. Whose birthday is coming up? We talked about it this morning. Whose birthday? Yeah, which friend? Can you find it with friends? Which friend's birthday is coming up? My birthday is coming up, but do you remember the other friend in our classroom? Who is it? Whose friend? Do you remember, Cardo? Yeah, no, what friend? Can you find Everett? Where's Everett? Okay, find it. Can you find it? Yep. Yes, good job. Cardo, do you want to wave and say goodbye? Oh, yes, you're right. He's not here today, but can you say bye? Can you say bye? Good.
Yeah, so it's been really fun to see his progress, from a kindergarten to a fourth grader now. So just using that, the device and communication. So yeah, glad you guys can see that. Yeah, so why we love AAC, all my students in my classroom and in my teaching partner's classroom use AAC talking devices too. And it gives our students a voice. We all like to talk what we like to talk about, and they get a voice and they can share. It encourages them to express their thoughts, their feelings, their needs, if they're frustrated, and it provides a reliable and consistent means of communication. So, yeah, we love AAC, and I love working with Melissa too, and she's so helpful. So, yeah, it's just fun to see our kids in action, and yeah, so we just love it. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Melissa or Jenna?
Do they take that device home and do you work with the parents?
Yeah, great question. What we try to do is when a student is assigned with a one-to-one, we do a parent training. So the parent does come in and we sit down and train the parent on how to use it, how to model. And then we'll come up with some goals on what they want to work on at home, what's important for them in their routines, and what they would like their child to be working on, and what they'd love for their child to be saying, right? And so we talk about how we can bridge that at home in the school. And then we will have them sign a tech release with our technology department, and then they can take it home. And they'll take it home at night, and often they'll take it home in the summertime too, as long as they're a current student of HPS, that they can have access to it.
In looking at, you mentioned Cardo, when he came, all he was doing was grunting. Okay, and he was how old then?
He was kindergarten, and he was in another district at the time, but I actually was in that same district. So it wasn't Hudsonville, but I knew him from a previous district. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so isn't there anything outside of the schools available for these kids to connect to? Because I can imagine the frustration that he must have been feeling for all those years without having, and the same thing with the parents.
Oh yeah, for sure. And his mom said too, like when I asked her about like, hey, we're gonna present this at the board meeting, she's like, that's amazing, like he's doing so well at home, like, using it and talking to his family and his brothers and sisters, and okay, what do you need, Cardo? And like saying it. So yeah, it's a great thing, like it's so great that Hudsonville is so collaborative, and tech has been amazing with, I had one talker today that was frozen and they fixed it today. I was like, oh yay, I can bring it home to the students. So yeah, just having that resource here is incredible. So.
And then on the other side of the spectrum, you said you have kids who are wanting to be involved in this. You ever come across situations where it would be an impediment to a kid to do this because he has the potential to be able to articulate himself in a more normal way?
So there's actually a lot of studies that have been done that shows that AAC use actually increases verbal communication. There was a longstanding myth that pushing a sort of system like this would hinder verbal communication and keep keep children from reaching their full potential. And actually, it's the opposite.
Okay.
It bridges that gap for them. It makes language make sense, and it increases their verbal communication and makes them become more verbal. And honestly, I've had a few students who have become verbal, and then they phase out of the device. They no longer need
That's
it.
what I was,
Yeah.
because we were,
And
okay,
So then we'll write it out of their IEP and their verbal, and we might have different supports they might need, but they might no longer need a communication device. Yeah.
very interesting, thank you.
Of the 40 kids that you identified on the high-tech devices, how many of those are on an IDP?
All of them.
All of them are on an IDP?
Mhm.
Okay. And is it also used for English language learners? Or is that really not?
They typically benefit from a lot of the same low-tech, supports as they're learning English, but they have not been assigned a device. Generally, their verbal output is great, it's just learning the vocabulary.
Right, makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay. Fascinating. Fascinating.
How much do one of those readers cost? You haven't, like Cardo's using, how much does
Oh.
it cost us?
Like an iPad?
Just an iPad,
Oh,
so it's not, it's an
It's an iPad.
insignificant amount, so I just like, okay,
oh,
yeah, cause if that ever goes away, like, that's his whole lifeline right there.
Right.
So I'm thinking like long term,
Yeah.
for him, okay, so it's not a huge cost,
So the subscriptions that we purchase for the app on the device are usually transferable to a different device, so if the iPads are no longer functional, we can transfer that license to a newer version of the iPad.
Is it an annual subscription or a one-time
It's
cost?
an annual renewal.
Okay.
and we've had some parents like even say, oh, we want another one at home, we're willing to buy it, and then sometimes they have like, in October, they have a discounted rate, and so like, go get it now when it's on 50% off, so,
Yeah, so I'm thinking, like, this is amazing,
yeah.
and to think of a scenario how quickly he could lose his voice,
Mhm.
and, okay. I
It
would
did-
never want cost to be an impediment.
Oh, for sure. No, and it depends on the application. Some are annual and then some are one-time subscriptions. So like LAMP is a one-time. So if we buy like a LAMP device or a LAMP license, we have access to that as our HBS. Or the HBS department has that access always. So if a student were to damage an iPad and need a new one, or we upgrade to a different iPad, we just take that license that he had on his previous and transfer it. So we're not purchasing another one,
Yep.
but there are other, it just depends on which apps we're purchasing.
Got it.
Yeah, because we have, there are circumstances where we've had kids that damage an iPad or break it, and then you're all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? He doesn't have a voice, we need a backup right now.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah, very interesting.
Thank you.
Very
Thanks for all the questions and your interest.
Yes.
Okay, next we have recognition of visitors, and we had none today, okay? So then we'll go on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items? So, Andy, do we have a second?
I'll support.
Nick, any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Now we're gonna go to the regular action agenda. We have the board refinance resolution, and Pat will, make the recommendations for this.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the ratifying resolution to, which is the end of the process that, we asked the board to give us authority, to, refund both of the 2015 bonds. We had two bonds. One was actually a refunding bond that was refunded in that year, and one was a new money bond. This is the end of that process. In that authorizing resolution, some of the parameters that were set were we couldn't have a total interest cost in excess of 6%, and the actual true interest cost on this issue was, combined with the school bond loan and these regular bonds was, 3.5%. So significantly below that cap that we were authorized for. And then the savings in the resolution, it said that we had to save in excess of 2%. And these bonds, combined savings was 7.6%. So significantly higher than the authorized, the authorization given back on December 12th of 2024. And this ratifying resolution really pulls together those details. The total interest savings, and it's, too bad they talk about it in net present value, but the total interest savings was just under $1.4 million for the two bonds. If you look at the real dollars, it was 1.9 million in savings. So the team, I've said this before, but Hudsonville is lucky enough to have really good consultants, and the team, they give us their best from all the consultants. So from PFM, we get their best, from Troon, we get their best, and from our bond sellers, the underwriters, Stiefel, Jeff and his team, Jeff Zalsher and his team definitely do a great job. So our recommendation is for the board to approve this resolution, which is the ratifying piece. The close for these bonds is actually set for October 15th, so next week. Yeah, those are the highlights.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the bond refinance resolution as presented by Pat Briggs?
I'll move that.
Ken?
Support.
Andrew, a second. Okay, any discussion?
Nice work as always.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Next, we'll go to the Early Childhood Center Playground bid recommendation, and Pat will also, make that recommendation for us.
Yes, this is a grant-funded, piece for us to upgrade the playground on the School Avenue side of the Early Childhood Center. These are significant upgrades. We reviewed this in detail at the work session, and we don't have any changes to that recommendation.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the bid recommendation for the ECC playground as presented by Patrick Briggs?
So moved.
Barb?
Second.
Joy? Any discussion? Okay, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And in keeping with the Pat Briggs show, we will now go to the summer tax resolution. Do the rest of you do anything? No, I mean, they're not on the agenda here, so, anyway, Pat, would you please follow through on that?
So, again, this has been an ongoing practice, that the district put in place, actually year before I got here. It's great use of, it actually, a lot of schools do a split of summer and winter tax, or just winter tax. But because the board, did this back in 2013 and 2014, our operating taxes are collected and received by roughly it's like the first week of October, so we've got most of them already, which positioned us very well for things like, state government shutdown. So that was very, very helpful. And so what this does is it affirms that past practice, and it carries that forward into next, tax year, when these are the taxes to be collected in the summer of 2026.
Do we have a motion to approve the summer tax resolution as presented by Patrick Briggs? Ken, do we have a second?
I'll support that.
Nick, do we have any discussion?
there any districts anymore around us that are doing, I think everybody should go over here.
I don't know the stats of all the districts around us. I know several do 100% summer levy. I worked in one that did a split levy. There was a big, it was a big change, but, I can get back to you on that,
No,
Ken.
it's not what I was curious about.
Okay, any other questions for Pat? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. At this point, we will go to our report items, and we'll go with Evans, from the student council.
Right, so my computer did actively die, so.
Get the loader charger.
So that's gonna be pushed off to the side, and I'll be using off my phone, but I did complete my little document that I have ready, so, as I mentioned last meeting, homecoming went amazingly, it was so much fun, so many people showed up, it was pretty packed, people moshing, it was very fun, you guys should have been there. NHS just inducted brand new junior and senior members last week on Monday, and they are getting ready for their fall chapter event, trick-or-treating games with the Compassionate Heart Ministries. They are gonna go into the Compassionate Heart Ministries gym and just set up a bunch of games for their kids and adults there to just go have some fun before Halloween, and that's a bunch of fun. I was there last year, it was a great time. The choirs this weekend on Saturday, they have a really big concert with Vox GR, professional choir, and Rockford choirs. Ooh, Rockford. Yeah, that was rough last weekend, but they did a fine, I think they did a really good job. But yeah, that's gonna be really great on Saturday. The bands are performing very well, they're scoring better than they did in previous years. That's what I've been told by some of our members, by our drum majors. Student council has their blood drive coming up next week. Custodian Appreciation Day was last week, and they received some bagels and cream cheese. Our Tireless Teacher Award, that's given away to a teacher that we have seen putting in a lot of work just for the school, and we recognize them for that, and that's been given to Mrs. Wedge, our German teacher, just for all of her work with student council and homecoming this past month. The Eagle Cafe was recently featured on M Live, and I believe Wood TVA also, just for being such an outstanding program within our school, and just kind of like a business opportunity to introduce students to. And then Wood TVA again, they're coming tomorrow morning bright and early, 5:45 a.m. To feature our HHS students for the football frenzy. And then we also with that had a food drive and collected thousands of items of food for our students within HPS. I loaded up my car yesterday with food from Jamestown Upper. It was packed to the ceiling. I had to take 2 trips. There were so many food items, and I assume it was the same way at all the other schools. So yeah, that's really fantastic. I'm so proud of all of our elementary students for all the work that they put in, and that is pretty much it for me. Thank you guys.
Any questions for Evan? Are we gonna win? Are we gonna, isn't there like a competition for like which district gets the most food and food help?
Ooh.
I know the elementary does, but don't they like compete week to week?
They do something, but it's a little bit different because of the different size of districts and.
That's a fantastic question, but I know that Mrs. Oldbecking's class at Jamestown Upper, she alone had almost 2,000 food items. So yeah, Jamestown Upper, they have probably 3,000 or 4,000 items total. So among the district, hopefully it's like 15,000 items of food, if I could guesstimate.
Excellent. Thank you, Evan. Now I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Vanderjack, and he can.
We'll start with some building updates, that's right, we'll start with Bauer Elementary, Mr. Lear.
Good evening. This is the time of year that we start to leverage all that relationship building into academic living. And it's a busy time of year. Our ACT meetings were just held as academic collaborative teams. We look at student data and we make intervention plans, so interventions are beginning. And something else that happens every fall is the walkathon. Now, not all of us can dress up like Disney princesses like Mrs. Mucha, so we have to get dunked in a dunk tank 67 times. But that 67 times accounts for $13,400 raised. So, thank you, Bauer students. It's very awesome. I'm also, personally, it's exciting because I'm at a point in my career where I've seen people retire that I've gotten close to and seen their excellence on display. And we've brought in some new teachers and we get to see their different approaches. So we have some new staff in our building, and it's fun. It's a different perspective. When people are beginning their careers and you're supporting them, that's a lot of fun for me. So that's all I have. Any questions about Power?
Thanks, Josh. We'll go next to Forest Grove.
Thank you. We also had our walkathon last week, Friday. We did not have a dunk tank, unfortunately, but I did offer up levels of amount raised, and I would get turned into a human hot dog and ice cream sundae, so I get to be turned into each one of those next week, Friday. And we raised over $15,000 for our walkathon, which was the most ever for Forest Grove, and something that we're really proud of, and we can do a lot with that for our school. Another thing I wanted to highlight was that last school year, John and the central office team and a bunch of the teachers did a lot of work to qualify Forest Grove as a national blue ribbon school. There was an application process, there was a lot of editing of that application, and then it was sending it in. We learned about a month ago that that program was cut by the federal government. However, we're very thankful that the state of Michigan has decided to still honor the 13 schools that earned that achievement, and Forest Grove is one of them. So we're really excited for that and really excited for all the work that was put into it. I feel like I was kind of born on third base here, but I'm gonna take it. And really, it's a testament to our, just the systems that we have in our school and the ability, not just our school, but our district. Everything that we do to intervene with students academically has been really powerful, and we get to go to the state Board of Education meeting on November 13 and get honored, I guess. I don't know what that's like, but I'm excited to see. So that's really cool, and we're really excited for that. And finally, I feel like I'm now a part of Forest Grove Elementary because a couple days ago, we had a cow in our parking lot. Just walking down the street, it got loose on 32nd and Riley, and it ended up in our parking lot. Luckily, it then went across the street, so we didn't have to go into shelter or anything like that. But we did have a cow in the parking lot, and it was awesome. Forest Grove.
No questions for Mr. Right, next up we have an update from Mrs. McClure over at the 5-6 building.
Right, good evening. We too just wrapped up our ACT meetings last week, and we started interventions this week on Monday and Tuesday. And we had our staff meeting last night, so we not only are doing academic interventions, but we're also looking how we can support our students behaviorally as well. So we will be starting our behavior interventions next week. So we'll be doing some small groups. It could be organization all the way to hands or self to self types of groups. So we're excited about that. We have some really rambunctious 5th graders that like to be a little fancy, which is okay. They'll grow. And we also kicked off our well, we don't do a walkathon, we do the Amazing Race, so it's a little bit different. We do minute to win it games with our students in the gym, so we pile everybody in. So this will be the most students that we'll have in our gym thus far since we've been open. We're around 630. So it'll be a fun time, and our teachers don't know yet, but they're gonna play Hungry Hungry Hippos. So that will also be, I think, a highlight. So we kicked it off with a game of Bean Boozled. Mr. Arnois is new to our building this year, so he got to participate in that. The kids were really excited. Mrs. Hordisky maybe almost vomited like 3 times, so we will not play that game probably again. And then another exciting thing that just happened, we are a unified school, and we had our first unified soccer game against Holland Christian a couple weeks ago. So it was also a packed gym. We can't fit everybody in there to watch, so we have to figure out, it's a good problem to have because the kids love it. And we're also finding that we might be recruiting some 5th and 6th graders to be future special ed teachers. So I know that I've got a few teachers that want to know if we can pay them to be a para, because they sometimes know what accommodation is better for their peer that they're supporting than maybe a guest teacher in the classroom. So it was really cool to hear one student said, we use first then language to a substitute teacher to help them with a student in the class, which is really awesome that at 5th and 6th grade they can do that. So we have exciting things going on with our LINKS program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. And last but not least in the building, Mr. Beal.
All right, it's hard to kind of pick and choose what to come up with, so I'm going to add on to a few things. Evan, your list was comprehensive and impressive. It's been a very busy week this week, as you mentioned, with the news coming in, but they've been in kind of all week doing some promo videos, maybe you've seen. Big shout out to Lawson Weber for those that maybe don't have any social media or watch any ESPN. Top 10 play was pretty cool on Saturday morning from last Friday's game, so he and the program in the school have received a lot of attention from that. And even talking to my own kids and saying, how many people do you think saw that? And they said millions, and I've had to think, that's probably accurate. Millions of people probably saw that. It's pretty cool. But it's not just sports that are going on. Like you mentioned, the band has been doing well. They got their uniforms in finally. I've been talking with Mr. Vanderwall about that. Kids are very excited. Dr. Vanderjack, I know you got to come in and see the fittings, and some kids even got emotional putting those on, which was pretty cool. So we're really proud of those and can't wait to see them tomorrow night out on the field. I don't think the hats are all in just yet, but the uniforms will look great. What else? Tomorrow is going to be an early morning. It's a 5:45 a.m. call time for all of our students that want to show up and be on the news. They're getting there at about 3:15 a.m. to get everything set up. And I have to say thank you to my colleagues over here on the right. I gave them this chore via email to participate with the football players that go read to many of their classrooms. Not all, but many of the classrooms get to participate. And they were the ones to hype up the food drive to help us. We did it in first hour as well at the high school. But I thought if we really want a lot, we got to get the elementaries involved. And the prize for the winning class that had the most is a pizza party down on the field in the north end zone with their player, of course, coming over to kind of hype them up. So Mrs. Oldebecking's class will be down there. And then lastly, it got me thinking when you talk about moshing, Evan, and the dances, because sometimes I know, Mr. Hall, you talk about our dances and we have added a winter dance. And I'm going to go ahead and clarify that it's not moshing. And I'm trying to, even though Mr. Hegel's not here, I'm going to try to channel my inner Mr. Hegel, because sometimes his wonderful stories could be titled Kids Do the Darndest Things. And sometimes high school kids do the darndest things too. And for those of us that were there, they may notice that kids don't really dance anymore. It's more just a jump. And after about 30 seconds of the song, TikTok's fault, they're over it and they're ready for the next song. So the DJ knew that, he did a great job, and every about 30 seconds or so, it was a new song. One verse, one chorus, jump up and down, on to the next. So kids do the darndest things. A little different than dancing, but did you have fun?
I had a fantastic time. I will say it is an amazing calf workout. My legs burned for days afterwards. I could not walk up the stairs until probably Wednesday without my legs just being in pain. And I could say that for probably all of my friends too.
Yeah, a lot of jumping, and glad we got a good calf workout. And I appreciate, last but not least, that Mr. Ski at least realizes he didn't hit the triple.
Good one.
No more questions. All right. Real quick update on mine. I do want to say on Monday of this week, we had a chance. You've seen Eagle Claw when we went to the high school and saw the students perform Eagle Claw. Our central office had a chance to participate with Eagle Claw in a lesson on Monday, and it was just really cool. Nobody got heard, although it could have been. I know Mrs. Armstrong had to step back a minute because the sticks were getting a little bit, and I was told, there's some sticks that get broken sometimes, but it was just a good experience, for our team to be there and spend some time with kids, so.
One more quick plug about tomorrow in the news. Can I say one more thing? Because I have to brag about Callie Corey. Because one of the features about all the food, thank you again, is gonna be, it was created already by Callie and our Eagle Eye TV club students, and she guided them through that process. So if you watch tomorrow, please tune in if you can't come, or watch it on wherever they repost it on YouTube, but you'll see a student-produced news feature about where the food is gonna go in our community, including our food pantry right there in the high school, which gets a big feature. And then also, we work closely with Hand to Hand. So we had Becky Dawson, who runs that, on that feature, and then a visitor from Hand to Hand come and get interviewed. But they said it's the best student-produced news story they've gotten from any school all year, which is great and expected. So tune in if you can see it.
So good.
Thanks.
I'm gonna ask for quick updates from Central Office. We'll start with Pat this time.
Yeah, thanks. I apologize, try to be normally very up to date in these, but our state didn't do the job. We have a budget. They're touting that they gave us a lot more money. And actually, if you look at the funding, the base funding, last year we had $429 a student, which we're thankful for. This year, they took all that away, and they gave us $442 a student in base funding. So I'm really not gonna say thank you to them for $13 more when they added funding to other programs that are good programs. They're just not traditional K-12 programs. They added money to preschool, which benefits kids. It's just not something that they should be paying for with school aid fund. Really hurts is they pass more funding along to community colleges and higher ed, and because they limited support from the general fund, they gave more money to roads. So I don't like to bring bad news here in my days, try to be upbeat, but I think I'd be not doing my job if I didn't point out that they let the kids down. That's all I have.
Yeah, I would say that we all have been paying really close attention to what's going on, because it's gonna have impacts on all of our departments and all of, our district. So, I think that we should continue to talk to the people that we know. So, I did wanna say, I know, last year, we all discussed, quite a bit about just the restructuring after the COVID dollars and, you know, making new roles for people and moving people back into the classroom and things like that. And there was a lot of feelings, but I've been in a lot of buildings, all the buildings, and have seen, you know, people in those new roles and in those different spots this year, and it's been really awesome to see. Change is really hard. Change when you don't have control is really hard, but man, what amazing professionals we have, and just the way that they've adapted. And you know, I was talking to one person, and they were just saying how much they love it, and I know one person was not happy with where they ended up, and I think it's been a really positive change. Love working with their new principal, not that they didn't like working with their old, but just, you know, just really loves the new culture. And they said, you know, I wouldn't have known. And so I think that those are like always positive things to think of, so that's been kind of a positive this fall.
On September 26th, we had our first early release professional learning day for pre-K through 12th grade teachers. Last year, we started using an evaluation rubric, framework, based on Bennett's hierarchy to evaluate our professional learning. And this is our second year of kind of rallying around some core questions. There are 4 primary questions we're using. So we're measuring the engagement level and collaborative spaces that teachers are in, and they're rating that on a 1 to 5 scale. 5 being strongly agree with that this was engaging and highly collaborative, and a 1 would be strongly disagree. The second area is just, was today's session valuable? The third area is the information provided today, the learning that you had, can it be immediately applied to your practice? So it's not just about increasing knowledge and skill, but actually application to get to kids and make a difference instructionally. And then the final question is around this experience further developed my knowledge and skill, because we know that also comes first. Overall, on September 26th, we had an average of a 4.5 rating for all of our teachers pre-K through 12th grade. There are certainly areas that we're diving into and feedback that we received that we continue to consult with our coaches around, and we'll be talking with principals about next week, because we want to be responsive to ensure every teacher feels that it's a positive experience in helping them grow and learn and ultimately impact student learning in our classrooms.
One of the pieces of good news that came through last week was that the E3 grant was continued. If you'll remember, we had a conversation a couple years ago about our partnership with Arbor Circle. They were granted funding from the state of Michigan's Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to employ a provider to completely provide all services in the school. And so Arbor Circle selected Hudsonville as the recipient of that. And so we have had a clinician full-time at the high school who's done a tremendous job. There was a lot of uncertainty around the ongoing funding in that way, and so the fact that that was continued was of great relief. He's doing a tremendous job, and that would be a big loss to the high school. So that, and we had our first family night for our multilingual learner families. They were invited to come in and do a short activity together, learn more about what resources are available to help them understand and access the learning that their students are experiencing at school, and have a short take-home project and book to take with them. I'm really thankful for Amy Detmer, our EL facilitator, this year, who really pulled off a nice engagement activity for these families, and they're always well attended. And then finally, I know last spring I had shared with you that one of the big roles for our special ed facilitator role is to help develop co-teaching partnerships with general education and special education teachers. Some people, I don't know if it's meant to be humorous or real, but we'll kind of refer to those relationships as like a marriage, in that you have to kind of live and work very closely. Obviously, the commitment length is not as long as a traditional marriage, but you really have to understand each other's communication styles, and be able to, it doesn't really work well if one of you is more on the fly and the other one really likes to come in with a plan. So, really thankful for the work that Amanda Isinga is doing around that. She's doing some coaching and learning throughout the year. And in a similar capacity, we're also following that trend with our multilingual learner students at high school, so that they can also receive those services in their content courses. So we're excited that that's had a good start. We're going to continue to evaluate the effectiveness of that, means of delivering support, as well as the students accessing that, making sure that their outcomes are aligned with what we hope. So those are headed in a good direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Mandy. So I do want to appreciate all the work our administrative team does, and I know it might have been sarcastic, but the team that we have at central office is amazing. I know, Pat, you have agenda items here because the board has to take action on them, but what takes place every day, countless hours, and the hands that you have, all of that you touch throughout, is phenomenal. So thanks for everything you guys do. That's it.
Nick, would you have any final comment?
Yeah, just echo, I know you all work hard and appreciate what you all do, especially with the uncertainty at the beginning of the year, and appreciate the update. It's frustrating. I was on a webinar with MASB on Monday, just all the uncertainty of all the other districts. Thank you for diligence year in and year out to help us to weather storms and uncertainty, especially when people in Lansing are probably more interested in winning elections than actually helping kids in a lot of cases. So just want to thank the work that you all do to help our kids.
Yeah, I echo Nick's comments. You guys do a fabulous job. And Pat, you monitor everything so carefully and closely and give us great updates and keep us very well informed. And we are very, very fortunate. It's great to hear what's happening in all of the schools, and of course my heart goes to Forest Grove, Joe, so I love the big house for
I've heard.
Andrew?
Yeah, I just wanna say we had a finance committee meeting last Thursday. And, went through that whole process with, our consultants there, and we had a modified opinion. So, thank you, Pat, for all the great work, and thank you, Ann and Amy and Mandy as well for all the great work you're doing, appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep, same comments, thanks for all you do. The finances are important, but the X's and O's, what happens in the classroom is what's most important. And what happens to support the classrooms from central office is what's most important, so thank you.
I echo everyone else, and, also I did a training for NISB, Tuesday night. And just hearing from people in other districts, I realize afresh how blessed we are, how grateful I am for all of you, and ultimately the teachers that are, pouring into our kids every day. So thank you for all they do to support them. Yeah, thanks.
And I appreciate everything everybody does. Obviously, the comment that I made was in jest, and I hope you realize that. But I want to say that over the last several weeks, Dr. Jack and I have had numerous discussions about different items, and we always come to a very good consensus. And so I appreciate that relationship, and I appreciate all that all of you are doing to make our school system the best in Ottawa County for sure, and probably one of the best in the state of Michigan. So thank you very much for all of that. And at this point, I'm gonna ask for an adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Dan, do we have a second?
Support that.
Nick, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank